Well, I'm thinking we need to get going.
Yes, I think you're right.
Good evening and welcome to the Grant County Board of Zoning Appeals meeting for September 11th, 2023. At this time, would you please silence the ringer on your cell phone? And if you would, please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated.
How are you? Yeah. I think he's on. He's listening to us.
Could we have a roll call, please, for attendance?
Atkins,
Here.
Howell, Johnson,
Here.
Jones, Long,
Here.
Pearson,
Here.
Hartman.
Here. Okay. First thing on the agenda is approval of minutes, August 7th, 2023. Are there any additions and corrections to the minutes?
I think that's fine.
Would you add Randy Atkins as present at the beginning? He is not in the minutes as present.
Okay.
With that addition, I say we approve the minutes.
We have a motion to approve the minutes. Do we have a second?
Second that.
We have a motion by Mr. Johnson and a second by Mr. Pearson. Can we have a roll call, please?
Atkins.
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Motion passed. Minutes are approved. Next thing on the agenda is findings of fact. Docket 04 BZA V John Marvel. Do we have a motion to approve the findings of fact?
I make that motion. We approve it.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Johnson and a second by Mr. Long. Can we have a roll call, please?
Atkins.
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Motion passed. We have findings of fact for docket BZA 04 SP-23. Center Township Volunteer Fire Department. Do we have a motion to approve?
Did we have a date on that when they were going to do that? Was there a date? Was there a time limit?
Of when it would be installed?
Yeah.
I don't remember a time limit
Okay.
on that.
Then I go ahead and I say we accept it as written.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve by Mr. Johnson and a second by Mr. Long. May we have a roll call, please?
Atkins?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Pearson?
Yes. Bill, real quick on that, I believe they said that they were also getting FEMA
Yeah.
assistance. I think they got it approved. And then
Oh,
then
okay.
we're gonna go that route.
I didn't remember if we set a date or wanted them. They didn't give us a date.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Findings of fact were approved. Next on the agenda, we have old business, review of rules of procedure, final draft. Final draft is not ready yet. There are several things in here that we did not vote on that will still have to be discussed. They have neither been discussed nor voted on. And we cannot move forward with that at this time. I was just going over it this past weekend. So I can't tell you and give you everything that's incorrect, but there are many things in here that we did not vote on that were added at some point. So we will move on. New business. Public hearing docket 05 BZA V-23. Lisa Craig, 309 North Main Street, Fairmount. Is the petitioner here? And could you come up to the stand, please, and sign in? Okay, Mr. Malat, would you introduce the application here?
It is BZA docket 05 BZA V-23. September 11th. Hearing date, applicant is Lisa Craig. Application is for development standard variance from the area-wide zoning ordinance to allow an addition to be 0 foot from the village property line instead of required 7 foot in R3 zoning. I did note, if you look into your second page of the staff report, this home was built at an angle on the property to begin with. In discussions with Brenda, we look at this as the home would have been considered a non-conforming structure by the area-wide zoning ordinance as it was present prior to. And according to section 153.433, non-conforming structures or use of structures, D2 and D3, they state that the additions or enlargements will not encroach into any portion of any required yard to be greater, to a greater extent than the existing building. No addition or enlargement may reduce the setback of a required yard to less than 50% of that required by the chapter for that district. And D3 says the additions or enlargements shall not exceed in height or length, the height or length of that portion of the adjoining non-conforming building, which extends into the same required yard. And I've noted here that the rear porch that was built, it is in line with the original non-conforming structure, but was built at a much smaller scale. It would meet almost the same setback of the current non-conforming structure. We've had several surveys on this. According to the surveys, the existing house is 0.42 feet from the property line. The porch addition is 0.47 feet from the property line. Basically, a non-conforming structure can be extended and added on to as long as an addition is in line and doesn't get wider, longer, or higher than the original non-conforming structure. Just noting, if you guys concur with our understanding of the ordinance, we would not need to get a variance. If not, we can move on to the second part, which is the variance.
Okay, did you see those surveys?
Yeah, I've got all three.
We need to see at least one of them.
I've got it up on my desk. I don't have it with me.
You, sir, have a copy? Would you bring that up to Mr. Malat, please?
There's Randy Miller's survey. And it shows that porch is 4.4 over the survey line. Not expected.
I don't want to make this survey.
He's saying that the survey shows that it is 0.47 foot over the property line into the right of way.
Okay, it's beyond the property line.
You have a survey that's different.
Right,
You
right
have
now.
a survey that shows different.
Yeah, it's built.
And it's the same on the one from.
We're talking about the house is over.
The addition to the
Oh,
house,
the addition is over.
the porch is over.
The house is around.
So the house is just a non-conforming structure based on the area-wide zoning ordinance. And it is not across the property line, but the addition is slightly across the property line, maybe about 5 or 6 inches.
No,
Did you say 9?
About 5 to 6,
0.47.
0.47 feet.
Okay, but I thought you said 9. Heard somebody say it.
Also in the staff report, it says that Mr. Jerry Soltz came to the BZA meeting in April. He had a survey done and there are issues with it, including this.
He
I
originally
don't
brought,
remember that.
he brought it to the BZA during our public. During the public comment at the end. That's where we found out about it.
Not here. Maybe APC. Or maybe someplace else, but not here in April. Okay, anyway, yeah, when this came up, this is the first I'd heard about it. As you know, I did attend a Fairmount meeting and did hear the surveyor's explanation. And just wanted to clarify those facts. I don't think it does any good for us to grant a variance when we're talking about the property line already being across the property line. So
I gotta have a clarification.
Yes.
Corner of the rear porch addition is 0.47 feet off the property line. Now I've heard off the property line or over the property line.
Survey shows it over 0.47.
Well, this is saying off the property line.
Says north of the property line, I think. Well, the survey says north of the property line.
Could we get my survey? Since it's my property,
Corner of
the
the
survey that
lot.
they made for me.
Mhm.
Do we have that here? Since it's about my home,
Who was your survey done by?
Randall Miller.
Randall Miller. And this one was done by the same person?
And they're not the same.
And they're not the same. Who was your survey done, Mr. Schultz? Who was your survey done by? All three?
RMA, Randy Miller Associates. And reported.
The town of Fairmont used, somebody out of, that's,
Not aware?
Muncie.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. In my home. I had it surveyed before we got the building permits.
Yeah.
So.
Mm. What do you say? What do you say? But, yeah. You gotta read that close. You didn't have that little
Cause he had.
thing you did, huh?
Here's another thing. I brought these. I don't know. And this is on the that this is gone.
Well, board, this is a different one. Um, do we have more than one survey we could look at right now? Is that them?
It's the same. It was the same one.
what she brought down is the same one, only it's the larger one.
Are the legal descriptions the same, Ryan?
Yeah.
They're the same,
All
sir,
three are the same. The one for Muncie's more difficult to read.
but the legal descriptions are the same.
Right.
That would mean they're the same.
Now, the alternate, if we go with the variance to a zero lot line, she can ask Fairmount for the 0.47. If we give her the zero lot line variance, she could go to the town board and then ask for 0.47 from the town board. We've got no authority in there right away. So that's an alternate. With this, the other thing, if you look, there's several pictures in there you'll see with, and she brought pictures of before that may be helpful.
Yes,
of what
before
was
I-
there.
When I bought the house, there was a fence. The fence went from the corner of the house to the tree. And then I have a picture of how it is now in the same prospect of what the fence looked like. And the fence was fine with people, but the porch is not. The porch is inside where the fence used to be.
We also currently in that alley, if you take the corner of the house to the tree by the driveway, the actual rear porch sets back from that plane. The tree by the driveway is in the right of way. As you'll notice, that driveway, and I think what has caused all of this is through the last 100 years, that driveway has mitigated north. And instead of being straight, has went up around a tree and out like this and back in and, so, but what's sitting there actually, that rear porch, here's tree, here's corner of home, the rear porch comes and actually sets back, so you have to turn it to get into it.
So the city of Fairmount could have given her a okay for the right of way? Is that what you're telling me?
This is when commissioners, APC members, town board several times, and in office several times. We've talked about the big argument prior was the steps that were put on the north side of this. That they were directly out and into the right of way, blatantly into the right of way. She's since removed those. So we no longer have the steps, which I thought was the big argument.
I'm thinking we have to table this until the property line is absolutely established. And if we know that you have been given by the town part of that alley to make it legal for us to grant a variance. We can't grant a variance beyond the property line. And if the property line is somewhat in doubt, we've got to wait for that to be clarified. So
I don't.
once those things are settled, you could return.
I don't have a problem where the property line is. I would need a variance. I don't know. There is no clear line where the property line is.
A variance doesn't do any
It
good
won't help the,
if we go beyond the property
I
line.
see.
It just kind of would be us doing something we shouldn't do.
We built that thinking that we were in the property, past.
Yeah.
I thought I was 2 feet in the property line. That's how much it's different than
Yeah.
what I was told, what
Well-
my contractor was told.
Yeah. I'm sorry for this position you're
And
in.
I'm being harassed and I'm being bullied and I'm a widow alone in a house by myself, being harassed and bullied and spied on all the time.
Well,
So I'm,
again, I am. so
and I know that's not sure.
We just can't help you
I
at this
just need it
point.
to be able to,
Yeah, you just need to work with the town, I guess.
okay.
And
So I have to go to the town first and then come back.
yeah, because we need proof that the property is actually yours.
Where these steps were here, this was the property line. It was beyond,
Well, the corner, the outside corner was, that's how we took the steps down. They put the steps up when I was on vacation. They thought that would be easier for my mother to get up from the driveway. Just go straight out of the car, up the steps to they did that for my mom.
Mhm.
And we took them down. As soon as area plan told us to take them down, we had them down before they came and checked. So. I'm have complied with everything. I have had area plan called on it, my project several times. I've dealt with it. It's other people's prerogative to call area plan on people and have them checked out. But there comes a time where it needs to be finished. And I'm an adult and it's time for people to go home and let it be finished.
This again is difficult because we have with Fairmount and the age of Fairmount, and how Fairmount is laid out.
And the trash trucks, they did go around the trees and they made all the alleys crooked. It is true. Every alley in Fairmount is crooked. My parents live on one of the busiest alleys in town and it is crooked as a Heinz leg. It's just crooked.
But we have in this block alone, we could walk per alley and the cross alley and probably come up with 10 violations. Right now, I mean, today.
To your knowledge, did the contractor know the property line before he did the construction?
We thought we were way within. He knew the original property. He knew. He applied for all the permits and the permits were all okayed and the porch was on the permits. Yes.
It was squared off on the permit, but the way it looks like there's 7 feet between the alleyway and the corner of the porch.
Did he have it surveyed?
Did he have it surveyed? I had it surveyed before we even got the permits.
You had it surveyed before?
I had I had my lot surveyed.
There was a survey before the construction started?
Yes. Before I got the permits.
Kind of wonder how this went wrong.
Yeah, I do wonder how it went wrong.
I ran GIS. I know it's not accurate, but this time it was fairly close. Just, I don't know, it may not always be close and we don't trust it.
Right.
We realize that.
I
but
understand that.
It shows so close that there's no 7-foot setback.
No, I never thought there was 7. I thought there was 2 feet. We thought there was 2 feet, 2 feet something.
Did you advise them of what setback they needed?
Yeah, what would have been on the requirement would have been on the permit. Aaron went out and updated.
7 feet? They were advised 7 feet setback was needed? Well, it doesn't seem very likely, given that you have a survey. You have you guys looking at
I
it.
don't think we had the, I don't know if we had the survey with the permit or not.
Yes.
Is this the drawing the contractor provided
I don't know.
at the time of the permit?
Yeah.
And I'm assuming this is the house?
Right, but we would go off of, we would measure to get setbacks.
He doesn't even have the house at an angle.
Right.
So this is an inaccurate drawing that he presented to you to begin with.
Well, board, do you have a motion?
Welcome, Mrs. Jones.
Yeah. I was like,
I think we might table this, but with the option of, once it gets done, she can come back here at no other cost.
Yes.
To that point of what I consider.
Yes, sir. Just a minute. Okay,
I don't have it.
Survey should.
Did you have a certificate of occupancy been written?
Temporary pending.
Okay.
that'd be good for now. Yeah. Do you have anything else to add?
That's the okay alley.
Can he speak? He has something to ask. Or
Sure.
My name's Steve Deal. I am Lisa's brother-in-law. And the only reason why I'm here is because I was retired. Was superintendent of the town of Fairmount. And she has gone out of her way to be very transparent, to get all the things that she's needed to do to get this house up and running. She's been living in another house. There's always behind the scenes stuff that's going on, and we won't even go there. But she has been very upfront, forward, and trying to do what's needed to be done to get this thing off the ground. She's going to live there. She's got some ideas, and she's got a big family. Now, here she's supposedly got a certificate of occupancy that's going to come through. What happens if you guys don't approve this variance and the certificate of occupancy is denied? What is she going to do? She's put several $100,000 into this home and she thought she was good from the get-go. And from this office up here, complied, did everything that she needed to do. Now you're going to go back and say possibly not. We got to come up with something better than this.
This is really back to the town. We can't do anything about the property line. And we can only grant a variance to the area-wide zoning ordinance. That doesn't make this situation legal. We can't help on this right now, the way it is.
So do you have a suggestion on how to go with this?
I should not try and solve this. This one's really back to the town board. They can work on this. It can't come to us at this point and get a solution. We don't have a solution for it. A zero setback doesn't make it work. It's beyond the property line. A setback is from the building to the property.
I
line.
understand that.
It's beyond.
I understand that.
We can't do that. We could grant a zero setback if you have the property to the structure. If you own the property to the structure, we could grant a zero setback. We have done that before. But at this point, the survey is in doubt. That needs to get clarified. And then if additional property is needed, then that has to come through an adjustment of the property line. And we're not in that part of it.
So if the town of Fairmount goes ahead and says, yes, it's okay, she comes back up here and does what then?
That would need to be, I think, recorded. The survey would then have to be changed to show it as legal. At some point in time, this house is going to be sold again, and that should be done right.
I think everybody agrees on that.
Yeah. And now there's a structure that's beyond the property line right now. And before, it was 4 inches inside. It was a non-conforming structure as far as the area-wide zoning ordinance, because it didn't have a 7-foot setback, but it was legal. When she bought the property, it was legal. Right now, to sell that property, it's not legal. That needs to be dealt with. We can't help on that at this point.
Okay, I
I
understand.
sympathize with the situation.
But like I said, she jumped through all the hoops that she needed to jump through. And with the survey that she had, you can get surveys. If we've had 3 surveys, none of them necessarily agree. They're all off a little.
I thought I was 2 feet, 4 inches inside at the corner of, when they put it,
On one of your surveys.
from what a survey said, that's what I was told. That the corner of the porch was 2 feet, 4 inches inside my property.
Well, were those recorded?
I don't, the original one was recorded, but I don't, all I have is what people told. I didn't make it.
That's what Ed's trying to say. They're gonna have to get the tail that feed her an additional space for food.
No, I
think it just considers times.
Why is it now? If you had a good, may I?
State your name and sign in, please.
Oh, boy. Todd Glancy. Watch our time. So the survey is in doubt. If you had a good survey, would you be able to rule today?
We have 3 surveys so far.
No, my
We've
question
seen
was,
one that shows it beyond the property.
if you have a good survey today, if I could give you magically a good survey today, would you be able to rule tonight?
Are you a surveyor?
I'm asking a question.
No, not if you're not a surveyor.
No, my
Right now,
question
we
is-
have paper
Okay,
and they
I
don't match.
bow out.
Okay,
I bow out. I'm sorry.
No, sorry.
it's all right. Okay. We do need to move on. And you are welcome to come back when this problem is solved.
So I need to go to the town board.
Yes,
All right, thank you very much.
thank you. Thank you, sir. Okay. I think we still need a motion if we're going to table this.
I'll make the motion, we table this to the next meeting, or when the clarification is from Fairmont.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Mr. Long and a second by Mr. Johnson. Would you give us a roll call, please?
Atkins?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Jones? Yes. Long?
Yes,
Pearson?
Yes.
Okay, motion passed.
Mr. Harvey, did you see Mr. Littfield put a message up there for you?
What's the message?
Mr. Hartman's exactly correct in his analysis.
Oh, very good. Wow.
Thank you. Okay, moving to the next one. Number 05 BZA SP-23, Jeffrey Nash. If you would, please take the stand and sign in.
We've signed that.
No.
I'm passed. No.
Mr. Malat, would you introduce the petition?
This is BZA docket 05 BZA SP-23. Hearing date is September 11, 2023. Petitioner is Jeffrey Nash. This is a petition. He is requesting a special exemption to allow an automotive repair business in a residential suburban RS zone district. Mr. Nash would like to build a whole building on the property that he just purchased to perform light automotive mechanical work. He currently has a business in Gas City and runs that business out of his residence. His business was started over 20 years ago by his father. He plans, once he gets the building built, to look at putting a home also on the property. I did want to disclose, I do know Mr. Nash and I do know his father, and they have done work on vehicles for me before, just so you're aware.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Nash, tell us a little bit about your project.
Well, I bought the 3.7 acres out there, 1491 South 400 East. And what I would like to do is tentatively what we have in mind is to put up approximately a 48 by 104 building. And 48 by 40 of it would be sectioned off, 2-story house. And then whatever necessary firewall barriers and so on between there and the remaining, which would be the repair shop aspect of it. I want to get the shop up and going first and work out of it, and then slowly finish the house. Being I have a house I can live in Gas City, it would save me a little bit of money and do some of the work on my own. And
Okay. At this point, you're asking for a special exception to run an automotive business in RS, residential suburban. Okay, and you want to do a combination home and automotive business. Are there any situations that he needs to be aware of with that? Is there anything he needs to be aware of that he should do special?
Yeah, we've already talked about fire separation between the house and garage.
Do you think they should be separate, or can they be together with a proper firewall?
They can be together.
Okay, all right. Go ahead, board.
Considering, I guess the new terminology is barn dominium, is a health inspection for a septic system appropriate before construction begins? Considering
Yes,
that
they
there will
would-
be a home there?
He would have to, anytime we cover ground, we have to get a locate on septic, which there's already one out there right now.
yes, there is currently well, septic and power out on the property.
So we would get with the health department and they would give us a letter that there is an approved form of sanitation.
Before we would grant, now maybe this is APTC stuff and I apologize, but maybe
No.
just looking down the road, trying to get more education on this new concept that we've got with, these kind of structures.
Yeah, for any house, if you're building a house before we issue a permit, we get a letter from the health department.
Okay, I guess
We get the permit if they're cutting into the road, then we also get the highway permit for any cuts.
well, I see where where this could get a little tricky is in the event that we do the barn and the business first, and we give them a permit to do that, and then here comes the home. And now, is there additional permits required for the home? Or
I believe
is that all in the package?
Spots, right?
It would be a single structure. It would be all one shot. So it wouldn't be like putting a separate house up after the fact. It would just be all in one, you know.
And our RS zoning does allow, the does allow an accessory structure to be there before the primary.
Okay,
So he could build a garage and then build a house, where most of your residential, you can't build a garage before the house is built.
in the garage before the house, okay.
There are exceptions to that because we did have a garage with the lake before they had the house. Now we got the house. We did that in upland, so that can be done. And it did come through, so made us look pretty good.
Lord knows we have enough surprises.
That's exactly.
Let's just try and make sure we don't have any surprises down the road.
So are you going to use the existing building now? Is that worth having?
The little shed,
Yeah.
the cabin.
That's a big yard barn.
Yeah, so I plan on more than likely moving that further back and utilizing, put a double door on it. Put a double door on it. That way I can get my mower and stuff in there. Right now, it's just a cabin with a little walk-in door, so I do plan on trying to utilize it though.
But that's where the septic and all the electricity's at, right there.
So yes, the meter is sitting right in front, and then the septic is right behind it.
Okay.
And then the well is up in front of it over to the south, kind of close to the tree that's on the property.
And you'll tie into all that at some point?
Yes.
And the health department should have records on all that. Back when Larry was here, Mr. Strange was here, he approved this.
We didn't approve it. He approved it.
Yeah. It was something that we had to monitor every 6 months to ensure they didn't move into it.
Okay.
And I did talk to Larry Bright prior to buying it, and he had looked at it for a family member, I guess, and he had stated that it was 1,000 gallon and would support a 3-bedroom. So that was my intentions, was a 3-bedroom in the house aspect of it, and then have the shop. It would just be no paint and body. It's like Roland said, it was a light duty, brake suspension, you know, timing chains, whatever. It's so no paint and body, no junkyard, no salvage operations or anything like that.
Do you anticipate it being a one-person operation, or do you anticipate growing with employees at some point?
I do currently have a son-in-law working with me. So I already have one guy working with me. I had planned on possibly having another person kind of handle answering the phone, scheduling the work. Because that takes a lot away from me being able to do it.
Any anticipation on how many cars would be on the site at any one time for service?
Typical day is usually 8 to 10, depending upon, you know, if it's brakes and oil changes, I can usually roll them in and out fairly quick. There are days where I have like a timing chain job and that's an all-day deal, or if I got to pull a dash out of one to do a evaporator or heater core, you know, that's about an all day. So there's days where there's only 2 or 3.
What's the time, hours of business?
I am 8 to 4. I try to allow enough leeway to where even if I run over, I could still be done by 5 or 6 p.m. and try not to be too early and wake the neighbors and too late to disturb the peace.
You run a tow service?
No. There's the occasional, if, you know, if someone happens to be
In his car.
within a few blocks, and I'll go and try to see if I can't get them running and get the car down there, but No, I don't have a full service.
I've had to drag a few cars down to this.
I dragged it myself.
Position.
Let's see. Um, I've noticed at some automotive shops, they end up with a lot of cars that are never fixed. Is that the way you intend to do, or will you intend to get them out of there if they can't be fixed?
I get them out of there and I have had some that can't be fixed and I generally get with them right away and give them a couple options, you know. Either have it hauled back to your house. There's been a couple of them that they decided that they was gonna junk the car, asked if I knew. So I gave them Scrappy's phone number. He's come and hauled them off. I definitely try not to let anything sit there. I don't like the clutter.
Okay,
I would say his property in Gas City for years is he's kept it up. I mean,
Okay.
it is right across from the swimming pool.
okay, that's.
I just asked these questions in anticipation of what the neighbors may be thinking. If I was a neighbor, these are things that I would want to have an idea.
Bill Rock lives across the street from me and I work on his and I was trying to buy the lots next to me and he said he would try to, you know, get it to where I could put a bigger garage up and just keep working right there, but I can't get the lots next to me, so. He doesn't have an issue.
Okay.
He would also be allowed a freestanding sign of up to 25 square foot. I don't think we talked about that.
Yeah.
On the property. In investigating this, looking at the aerials, we've got some code enforcement to do in this area. This little strip of 400 and our aerials shows a house about a quarter mile to the south. Back behind the tree line, there's about 50 cars sitting around the pole barn. A couple of properties next to that is chicken coops or something that we can't see from the road. The house in the middle has dump trucks, construction waste. There's probably two houses we need to get as far as demoing going, and then a house to his north also has several cars that look like they're sitting there back behind the tree line. And if you look, the tree line's quarter mile, half mile back here. They're all set behind it. So we've got some work to do over here.
But you're in front of the tree line, right?
Yes.
It's quite a ways, yeah.
Yeah, the intention would be is where the shed's at now, I would be between there and the trees. I just kind of put the building right out in the middle.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions? We need to move along, otherwise. Sir, you may be seated. Is there any opposition to this petition? You, sir?
Yeah, I just wanted to say,
Please come up. And if you would sign in, please.
Yeah, I'm not code enforcement or anything, but I do know in Marion that I rented from a house when I moved here to the location. He has a shop in a house in a residential area that's less than an acre. So I live right next door and that's right there in Marion. And this guy's got like over 3 acres. So this guy with less than an acre, he has a shot. It's a south side of town. It's a Radiator place. It doesn't have no problems with anybody, no noise ordinance, because I understand that real estate is a business too. You don't want to just interrupt that, and this is residential. But as far as I know, that south side Radiator is less than an acre. He has tow trucks there, and he doesn't bother any of his neighbors. So it's a successful business, as far as I know.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else in opposition? At this time, the public hearing is closed. It's time for a board discussion. Does the board have any questions?
I don't know. The only thing I worry about is what Randy and all of us thinking, you get cars. We have to have a commitment out of him to maybe no more than 12 cars or 15 cars. He's got plenty of room. But you can start lining them up right next to the one out the fence row and tree line. So I would say if we give him is it variance or so?
It's a special exception
Special
for
exception.
business.
We just will limit the amount of cars can be out there on your property wherever you went. Would you live with that?
I'm good with it. Like I said, they come and go. Usually when they're there in the morning, we're thinking.
Okay, well, we just don't want to start it again.
Okay.
I would say at any given time, you have more than 10.
Generally speaking.
Yeah. and
Did you say
he's got
15?
a lot besides square garage that wouldn't hold
You said 10?
15 or 20.
Okay.
As far as parking.
Very good. You can make a conditional motion if you wish. And that is added, you
Okay.
know.
I would say we'll put it up to 15 cars with a special exception. To have that garage built right there where the building moved out.
Okay. Is there further discussion amongst the board on that motion? Do we have a second for the motion?
I'll second.
We have a motion from Mr. Johnson. We have a second from Mrs. Jones, which has a condition of 15 cars limited to the property. Could we have a roll call, please?
Atkins?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Pearson?
Yes.
Motion passed. You have your variance, sir. Okay, moving to the next petition, 06 BZA V-23, JG Bowers Real Estate. Will the petitioner please come to the stand? You would sign in and state your names.
Hi, I'm Phil Bowers. Got Whitney Pyle and John Reed here. I've got a little summary as well of our project.
And that's good. Or better, you okay with it handling?
Yes,
I've got 5 copies.
thank you.
I only have 5 copies, so,
We'll make it work.
okay, thanks. And I can email them as well.
Okay, would you give an introduction to the petition?
This is for BZA docket or 06 BZA V-23, hearing date September 11th. Applicant is JG Bowers Real Estate. They are asking for 2 development standard variances from the area-wide zoning ordinance. I would note they've also got a special exception tonight too. For the variances, the first one is to allow the rear setback, which would be the west property line, to be 10 foot instead of the required 15 foot allowed in a residential 4 zoning district. They are also asking for a variance to allow 50% lot coverage instead of the required maximum 40% lot coverage allowed in R4 zoning. JG Bowers Real Estate has completed demolition of an older home on the property and cleared this lot for new development. Their intent is constructing 4 new townhouse apartments on the property to be used for short-term rentals. Airbnbs. The property is located 1 to 2 blocks away from Taylor University campus. The town of Upland has given permission to J.D. Bowers to use the right of way along Joyce Street for parking. That letter is on file. J.D. Bowers also has a special exception for short-term rentals. I would also note part of the reason for this variance is because our area-wide zoning ordinance does require a minimum 720 square foot of habitable space. These townhouses will be at 784 square foot. They do meet our standards for habitable space. The other thing is in an R4, for these townhouses, it would require 4.5 parking spaces. With current parking and the allowance of the right of way to be used along Joyce Street, it actually raises the parking spaces up to 6.5, so it covers that part of the zoning ordinance also.
Ryan, what was that setback? You said to have 50% lot coverage instead of 40. What was the other first one you mentioned?
They're asking for 10 on the west property line instead of the required 15.
And the other 3 property lines meet criteria.
The other setbacks would meet. Note the 10-foot setback to the west property line is to an alleyway. So it's not to an adjacent property, but to an alleyway.
Okay. It's to an alleyway.
And then again, noting that this is townhouse type construction, although each structure is individual, they are attached.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
These are all single story, correct?
Right.
Okay, if you would, tell
Uh,
us- tell us why you want to do this.
Yeah, so we operate and manage roughly, 100 rentals around Grant County and several other counties. In our concept here, we've been a part of a lot of these meetings, for ready grants and things like that and hearing needs of the community. And there's a significant shortage of housing in our community. We aren't going to solve that with this. We're not a multi-family developer. We're not a single home builder either. So this is a bit of a new concept. They're going to be small footprint, shotgun style ranch homes on this lot. Each one have 1 bed, 1 bath, washer, dryer, and a kitchen. They'll all be well appointed. We've got a full set of architecturals. I had some included, but I realized I stapled a out-of-date set, so I didn't want to supply those, but I'll get you the full up-to-date set. I can email that to Ryan. Yes, that would be the updated one. Okay, all right. And so, of course, and we've got an interior designer. We're going to use high-end exterior materials such as hardy board and brick instead of, vinyl. The furniture we are going to actually manufacture ourselves in our own factory. We own a cabinet factory here that also manufactures modular furnishings. So it'll be very tastefully done. All of our tenants will be vetted. Most of them will be traveling nurses there to support Marion Health. I know they've got a significant staffing shortage, as do, many places around. We house a lot of traveling nurses, other traveling professionals throughout the county, from consultants, to engineers at General Motors coming to work on their investment there. So we're familiar with that because it's 1 bed, 1 bath. This is not a party place. It could be some parents coming in for a stay to visit their children at Taylor or IWU. And that's kind of the plan. There won't be any on-site management. We'll manage it from our office just like we do every other property.
Okay. If there's nothing else, you may be seated and
I have one question.
Yeah.
yes.
Will these be ADA approved also?
So, yeah, we just, there's there's different codes for housing, because there'll be townhomes, so it'll be residential code. There'll be a firewall between each unit. So they'll be set and appraised as single-family dwellings, which we believe will significantly increase the property values around, because we're looking at about a $750,000 investment. However, there is one code in the newly published ADA guidelines that do require certain, the doors have to be a certain width if we've got 4 more buildings together, regardless if they're single family townhomes or not. And I think the or the bathroom vanities have to be compliant. And so, yeah, yes, they will be. Short answer, yes. Sorry.
One question. The concept appears to be a short-term lease.
Correct.
Okay, traveling nurses could go up to a year or longer, depending on the contract in which they signed the hospital.
Correct. We would welcome that.
So your goal would be not to necessarily turn them over a short period of time, let them stay as long as they're paying.
Correct. Yes, but we're going after the per diem, the business professional traveler is our goal.
I can kind of talk on the, I don't know, are you guys all familiar with like Airbnb and VRBO and all the short-term sites?
Yep.
We have 25 of them between here in Ohio and northern Indiana, and this is a large investment. I mean, you typically will be putting more into this lot than probably what it will appraise for. But they is high demand. Right now we're housing, I think, around 3 traveling nurses, and then up to 6 or so 12-month contracts on people working at the VA, GM, and then we also house doctors as well. But we also will have maybe 1 or 2 of these on the Airbnb and VRBO sites for the weekend stays, and if the university, because the university has a huge need for housing alumni and donors. So, but they will be.
Letter from the president of the university as well.
But yeah, I mean, it's the investment here will, of course, and we've been doing this now for 8 years with the Airbnb and VRBO. So it is like we do have a track record with this as well.
Okay, thank you. There are other questions.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. Looking at I walk around your property. I watch you tear it down and all the good stuff. But are you sure that back side is 8 foot from that stake to that fence? The neighbor's fence? Are you sure that's 8
Well,
foot?
it's gonna be 10 feet, I believe. Yeah,
Well,
that's,
10 feet on each end.
yeah.
You have 8 foot in the middle.
Well, that wasn't the up-to-date
Yeah.
drawing, but it'll be 10 feet. That's
Clear across.
on the backside. Yeah,
Yes.
we're getting rid of the bump out. That it's bumped out in the middle,
I think on the.
because I think that
That shows
goes
an
that 2 extra
8-foot
feet.
step back instead of a 10.
I do have a couple questions. Where are you gonna put the trash? Where the trash goes?
Yeah, we think that'll go around on the alley side.
And we'll have dedicated areas for totes, trash totes.
You have very little green area. Is that in your contract?
What do you mean in our contract?
Usually if you're borrowing money from somebody else, they'll want a certain amount of green area.
For landscape.
Yes, landscape.
Yeah, we'll design that in-house. We do all our own landscape.
Correct, yeah, and we're funding this ourselves, so we've been going to the Ready Grant. That would be ideal, but we're not gonna base anything off of obtaining any public or grant money.
So you're basing that question off of drainage. There's a lot of roof space and then there's not a lot of land absorbing that.
That's what I'm saying. That's
Is
why
there-
you should have some green area.
Yeah.
And if they're gonna park on the right of way,
On the-
they're taking off
They're
almost
taking
all of it.
that, yeah.
And then we do have storm on it would be the southeast corner of the lot.
Okay.
There is a storm line there.
Yeah, you would know. Well,
Because our grade was a lot more than what we,
There's a significant grade on that
Down
lot,
to
which
that
has been
storm.
challenged too.
yeah, which they, I mean, it's, yeah. In the elevations, we just got back.
Okay.
you're gonna have individual water meters?
Yes,
Correct.
everything will be, all utilities will be separate.
Plowing snow and Joyce. I have done that before.
And not on the right way.
But not in the right of way. And damage to vehicles,
Well,
it's happened.
yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And we've run into that before and we've done several projects downtown Marion. The old Stephen Peoples building to the old other
Legacy Health.
law firm, which is Feuerstein Health now, and the Kennedy Arts Center upstairs in there. And so, luckily, I've had this issue on, had some
But
parking.
stuff, I mean, stuff like that will happen. It's bound to happen. And we'll take care of our own, I mean, we'll have all that contract out, all the lawn landscaping and snow removal will be contracted out.
Would you be right on the street when you're in the right of way?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying,
Well,
according to your picture.
I mean, it's inset,
it's
a bit, isn't
inside,
it?
yeah, the street, we took the off street, it should be all,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not gonna be on the street, it should be.
Although, what did Jonathan say? Yeah, I mean, with all the, that doesn't address plowing though. We can go look at that, but, I know we ran through it with the town manager, and he was fine and didn't see any issues, and also emergency services, the emergency service department as well, and they didn't raise any red flags about it, but
We do have an authorization for construction for the
from the town manager, yeah.
site plans.
Has that been through the council?
The authorization, it was included, Ryan has it.
Yeah, definitely sent us a approval on the Joyce.
Well, it was something stated about a letter, but I guess I haven't seen it.
It is demolition of the previous structure, address 1484 South First Street, Upland, Indiana, is complete. The new structure to be built is a high-end 4-unit townhouse type residence intended for short and long-term renting, leasing, and will be owned, operated, and managed by J.G. Bauer Real Estate. Front yard will run along Joy Street. This new construction will provide a boutique hotel type solution for visitors to Taylor University at Upland, Indiana. Additional short and or long-term housing, residential attached, approval from Jonathan Perez.
He did have this site plan, so
Would you like that?
I'm done, thanks. I think it needs to go before the council and approved. Just my thoughts. I don't think the council need to be aware of that.
I think they kind of left it up to the town manager and the town manager really hadn't got
Well,
that.
we don't know that either.
Well, I thought that's what you said though.
The
Town manager.
town manager approved it.
That's, yeah. I do have one more question. What about students? You're gonna rent out to students?
That's not our target.
I know it's not your target.
Yeah, I mean,
But are you going to rent out to?
I mean, honestly, the way it's set up, the max amount of people that could stay in there would be 2.
yeah, it wouldn't make sense for a student to rent it because there's cheaper places for students to rent.
Well, there's rich kids too. I lived there all my life. There's rich kids that can.
But we can't, honestly, I mean, we honestly couldn't discriminate against a student living there.
So you're gonna have students in.
It's a possibility.
So they
That's
rent
what you
out
just
for-
said. You're gonna have students. That will make it very.
They rent out for around, these will rent out for around $2,150 a month, if not to $3,000 a month if they're on the Airbnb. So that's typically what we get on a 1 bedroom.
But we can't control whether or not it's a student.
Right.
That's just,
Okay.
We're certainly not, we're not marketing it that way, but.
I think we need to move on. And thank you all. You may be seated. Is there any opposition to this petition? Please come to the stand.
You can have a response on,
Okay, should I stay up here?
well,
You have a response on the screen.
can you, we'll read it since you're scrolling up.
Thank you.
That's the last one.
What just happened?
Hi. I've been this board.
Concerning Upland R4, we own the adjoining lot and share the owner's north lot line. With the addition of multiple units, there will be an influx of people and bees. The owner is asking for owners to step back and increase the percentage of land area to be used. I believe this will allow the owner to have more units. I am not in favor of additional units. We already have parking in front of our home. This would add more pressure to find parking. When those renting the units have guests, it only increases the problem. Also, the owner can begin renting to students. There would be 4 units with potentially multiple people per unit at any given time. This increases possibility of noise, late outside activity, again, with cars without enough parking available. Then also, they are not restricted, same person with stroke. Also, they are not restricted from parking on Earth, which can cause us more parking problems. And again, they can rent to students. I am next door and I object.
Okay, thank
You'll
you.
have a chance when they're.
You may begin, sir.
Hi, I'm Tim Tittle. I live catty corner to the property. I appreciate you tearing down the old house. It looks good. Thank you. A few of the things we're concerned about, especially the drainage part. As Chip knows, he was town manager for a long time. Our property floods. We worked on it, tried to get it drained and everything. And so we're still concerned about the drainage problem, and at least for our house. And so that's one of the things. And damaged vehicles with snow plows. Chip has actually hit one of my cars before. Snow plowing.
I'm not gonna say that.
Oh, I was gonna tell everybody at 3 a.m. in the morning, he's knocking on my door saying. So, but there are things on there like I have questions about. I don't know if they go down the alley for trash. I know they're trying to change all that to go into the streets now in Upland. And you said like an Airbnb. That, I mean, is that an Airbnb or like an Airbnb? That's kind of vague to me. And so, Mr. Johnson asked, Taylor students, well, you know, if you can't rent it, you're probably going to give it to Taylor students. I understand that. You know, you're a businessman, you want to make money. I understand that. And I agree with Mr. Long. He talked about getting the board approval on this, because I talked to board members. They have not heard of this. They have not approved it. I don't know if the town manager has the authority to do that. He may have the authority to do that. So those are just a few questions I have. You know, you talked about not discriminating, but you're vetting. So I don't understand the difference between there. If you're vetting someone, aren't you discriminating a little bit? So I don't understand that question. So, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't mute yourself.
Is there anyone else in opposition? Yes, sir. Take a stand, if you would.
I have several questions. One, Chip brought up about the snow plowing. I live across the alley from this. Mr. Harmon, you've been to my house. You know where I live.
I know where you live.
Okay. Now, the apartments across the street, when the street gets plowed with snow, them kids has to dig themselves out because they can't get anything in to take the snow removal because their cars are parked there. So they make a mess. They throw everything out in the street. Now, the other thing is there's no parking on Joyce Street, nowhere. You only, the plan that I seen drawn up only allowed 5 cars. Now, if they park on First Street, that's a stop street for Joyce. You cannot see traffic coming from the north if they park there. You have to almost get clear out in the intersection before you can see anything. So I don't think they've got enough parking for one thing. The other is the trash. I have 2 apartments across the street from me that has a small dumpster. It's always over full. And when the wind blows, trash goes everywhere. We pick it up out of our yard, the neighbor lady gets it. If they're gonna put the dumpster on the alley, then they're gonna blow trash everywhere. That's the other thing I got against it. I only see 2 entrances into the building. Now, if they do end up renting to college kids, Karen and I managed the 2 apartments across the street from us. They put 4 boys in a 1-bedroom, bunk beds. That meant 4 cars. Now, what are they going to do with all the cars? They can't even have anybody visit them with only 5 spots because there's no parking out there on the street. Them are just some of the things I've got against it.
But they will park on the street though. We know that by past history. We know they're gonna park on the street no matter what. And you have to go around and it's gonna happen. It happens every day. Every day.
Okay, excuse me a minute. We have to have a vote on whether or not we continue because we are past our stop time. So I'll need a motion to either vote and go on and give our regrets to the APC who is waiting in the hall. Or if we vote no, we'll continue this meeting.
We have an opportunity to respond though before.
We are really out of time, but if they vote to go ahead, we will go ahead. But it's going to have to be, we're going to have to talk fast. Okay, we need a motion.
Well, I'm gonna make a motion that we table it anyway before, this has to go before the council.
And council.
Upland Council.
Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Do we have discussion of that motion?
We got a motion to pass and second.
We got a motion and a second.
I would like to comment on it though.
Okay, give us a comment.
We had a discussion on getting town board approvals. And we said we were not going to do it. I just. Right up.
Was that on the signs that we made that we had that discussion? Because we had signs along the highway and Upland. Remember the grocery store, credit union, the restaurant.
Yeah.
They were all incorrectly placed by and okayed by the town manager. And so
Yeah.
we said, we have a problem here with town managers just deciding things without bringing us in on it. Now we have a situation where we're in on it. Should we go ahead? Or should we hold up?
The council don't, isn't it on it though? Just the town managers. in it.
Just the town manager. And we had that problem before,
Yes.
but ultimately this decision is going to come back to us, no matter what they say. Correct?
Right.
Because we have overruled town boards before. They've said, go ahead, and we said, stop. On one similar to this, actually. So, okay, any more discussion? We do have a motion and a second. Any quick public input?
Yes.
Take stand, please.
I would like to quickly respond to some of these questions as fast as I can, and also state that we really want to try to avoid waiting another month here. We've put a lot of money into this already, and we have everything ready to start construction, except for obviously this very important matter. Regarding the vetting, so all we're doing is vetting a past rental history like any other Airbnb guest that you would have. And when I say like Airbnb, I mean it's going to be fully furnished, high-end, nice. If you look at the cruise group rentals, we've got like 400 plus 5-star reviews.
We agree with you on that. That's law.
Okay, parking not on First Street. If you look at the drawing, no parking is on First Street, and we can put up signs, we can put up anything that you would like. In fact, most of our renters, they're going to be traveling professionals. They go home on the weekends anyway. We have 2 or 3 traveling professionals downtown. They're, like I said, the GM engineers and nurses. Friends don't come to visit them. They want to go home on the weekends.
Real quick.
Yeah.
They were allowed on First Street 2.5 parking spots. It's the previous home.
Trash, we're not putting in dumpsters. They're gonna have individual trash buckets, and we'll have cleaning. We clean our own units upon request for the longer term rentals. But it's a responsibility of each tenant, if it's a 3-month rental, to put the trash in their trash bin and take it out.
Dumpsters are a nightmare. We've had to remove them on complex.
We won't put dumpsters in because of exactly what we're talking about. You won't see a dumpster on any of our sites.
Okay, we have to stop here.
Thank you.
Thank you. We do need to know, are we stopping now or are we continuing? And we have a motion on the floor to table it,
You have a second.
and we have a second. Have a roll call, please.
Atkins?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Jones? Yes. Long?
Yes.
Pearson?
Yes.
Motion passed. It's tabled. We need to take that to the town board just for their recommendation. But bearing in mind, the decision is ours, no matter what the recommendation. Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
I'm not real sure on that.